My grandparents came from Lebanon. ستي وجدي من لبنان. بحكي عربي شوية شوية. I'm better at backing. But I was fortunate. I grew up in the restaurant my father had, and I learned from most people that learn their instrument for our kind of music are either from Syria or you're from Egypt or you're from this, and you learn that music and you don't get exposed to some of the other musics or some of the styles. I was lucky growing up here because I got to study, I got to play in our band at the Middle East. There was, we were talking earlier, there would be a Turk sitting next to an Armenian. You really don't find that very much. And loving each other and playing their own music. Sitting next to a Greek, forget that. Sitting next to a Jew, who's sitting next to an Arab, sitting next to, and that's how we learned. And we played each other's music. And the people came in, and we would spot them right away. Oh, they're Arabs. No. And then we'd get even specific. No, must be. No. And we would play their music, and they would get up and they would dance. And it was inclusive. And we were talking earlier today, I've played at many nightclubs, you know, there are not many around anymore, or there's none around that I play regularly at anymore. But in the past, even the past 10 years, when people come in, they would stick to themselves, stay in cliques. The Saudis would come in, and God forbid they get up, and when the Syrians are doing the dabki, because the Saudis do this kind of crazy dance, and so they would wait till there was a thing, and then they get up and do their dance. And then sometimes there would be clashes. But back in the day where I grew up, these people they got up and danced to everybody's music. It was a different time. I think it was a more of a pan-Middle Eastern feeling. People were you know, when you heard it, you know, if you came in and you heard some Greek music, you could sense the familiarity, even if you're Arab, and they would enjoy it. So I was very lucky to grow up the way I did. It was kind of like growing up in a circus. And like I said, I never had a teacher, but I had all these wonderful musicians to watch and who tolerated me as a kid trying to struggle and learn the rhythms, and then I got it. And then yes, of course, I've been able to go to places in the world that I never would even think of going, and probably places I would never be able to afford to go, and go there and be treated like royalty, you know, and people would take you into their homes and teach and show you places that as a regular tourist you would never see, because they're very happy because they spent a lot of money to bring you there, you know. So I was very privileged in that respect. And at this point, it's taken a little while, but I've been able to make my own living now just with this drum. I'm teaching it 5 days a week, a couple nights a week, and then workshops, and I play with several different bands, not just Middle Eastern. I play, actually, there's one band called Mood Swing. We've been to Morocco 3 times now. It's a Moroccan jazz band. And the latest project, I don't know if there's any sci-fi nerds in here, but we have a Star Trek themed band called the Roddenberries. And it's a whole production, multimedia, dancers. We have some filmmakers in the group, and they make films that are shown while we're playing, and they'll beam a guy from the video onto the stage. It's really cool, but that's a really fun thing to do, you know. And it's, you know, when you grow up here, and that's one of the reasons why I was selected to go in the cultural envoy program to Denmark, because there's so many Arab immigrants, and they are sticking to themselves. They're not assimilating, obviously, because there's very completely different cultures. You go to Denmark, I mean, when you're in Denmark, if there's no cars going across the street and there's a red light, people will still wait until it turns green. Even if there's nobody around, they'll wait. You know, think of an Arab in that situation. Yeah, you know, walk across the street. Anyway, but so they're not assimilating there. So I went with a Lebanese American actress from New York who's amazing. Her name is Layla Buff. I want you to write that name down because she's amazing. If you could bring her here and do some workshops. She's toured with her own one-woman dialogue that she wrote about coming up between an American diplomat was her father, and her mother was Muslim Lebanese. And at the time that they married was completely taboo. And she tells about all these experiences. in this dialect, and it's amazing. And I highly recommend her. You will fall in love with her. I did, but she was married. Anyway, we're very good friends. So down, you guys know all this about me, and you know what? Do me a favor, come on and sit up a little closer if you don't mind. There's a limited amount of drums, and what we'll do is we're going to have you trade off. You don't have to come real close, you know. And I've been working all day, but. So, and the other thing is that my grandfather, when he immigrated here in 1918, he moved into the middle of the Italian community in South Philly. So that's why when I get excited, I talk like that. So, but the oldest Lebanese Maronite church is right there, I think, in Ellsworth, in the country, in our country here. And it's St. Matt's, Marmaroon. It's a Lebanese Maronite church, which my family belongs to. Anyhow, you know a little bit about me. I know you guys are students here. If you don't mind, before we start, just real quick, just say who you are and why you came here, and then we'll get going.
I'm Kaylee, and one of my classmates, Dan, mentioned right at the end of class that there was a Middle Eastern drumming thing going on, so we thought we'd better check it out.
Awesome. Perfect.
I'm Mary. Similarly, my friend Dan told me, but also
Dan's got a lot of influence.
Yeah, but I'm really interested in drumming, and like I think it has a very powerful thing about bringing people together.
And you're right, and it is. And just to say something on that, there's so much research that's been done. When people drum together in circles, I actually do drumming programs, which is part of some of these kids' therapy that I work with. They've been abused, but the research has shown that you drum for periods of time together in a circle, and you go to alpha state in your brain. You go to alpha, which is almost like what it's like when you're sleeping, and they become identical. And not only that, they've done, cardiograms or whatever, they mount it to the heart rate, and all of the heart rates start syncing up. Identical. It's called entrainment. It's something we've known about for a long time. It's like the trance is like in the Tsar in Egypt, when they do the Tsar for exorcism, right? They get into a trance, and then amazing things happen. Well, it happens in drum circles, and they're using it for all kinds of therapy for helping with addiction, because it takes your mind off of it. When you're drumming, you're in the moment, or you're supposed to be, and not distracted. And then after for a while, and you're playing the same rhythm, that's when the magic starts to happen. So we'll see if we can get some of that. Yep.
I'm Kristen. Mary reminded me, so I came.
Okay. Yes?
I just arrived. What?
Oh no, you just arrived?
Yeah.
Everybody else did. Could you come up for a minute? Everybody else did this. It's not fair. Come on.
No.
Go on. She's on to me. I see what I do when people walk in late. I'm like, look, everybody else did that. You need to stay there and date. And I usually get some people to buy into that. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Alba.
Alba. Okay, welcome, Alba. How'd you find out about it? He told you?
Mitch told me.
Okay, good.
This is the other advertiser.
Okay.
My name's Purab, and Ian right here told me about this, and I play the Indian drum.
Tabla?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought this would be interesting.
It is interesting. I had the privilege of playing with Zakir Hussain twice.
Whoa.
That guy, if you don't know who he is, if you know who Mozart is, he's like Mozart in Indian percussion, and he's absolutely amazing. He was 4 years old composing Indian compositions. Wow. Amazing. Anyhow.
I'm Ian. Just a grad student. I saw the advertisement on the VU student broadcast, whatever it is, and music is my passion, so I can't.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Sir.
Oh, I'm Manny. I was randomly dragged into this by Mesh.
You love music.
I do. I like music and I play wind instruments.
Beautiful.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I'm Maggie. I was in Dr. Works.
You're Annie and Manny?
Yeah.
Annie and Manny.
And
Yeah, I love it.
I'm a student of Dr. Works.
Okay. Beautiful. Sir.
Dan, and I saw the notice on the newswire this morning, but I had the opportunity to go to Tunisia for about 4 days, about 3 years ago, and that was the last time I heard any sort of Middle Eastern drumming, Arabic drumming, and so I thought, I gotta hear it again.
Well, that's not a bad place to start. The North Africans are amazing drummers. So,
I'm Kendall. I'm a student of Stella Ladra, and we had a pair of Indian tablas in the house growing up, so I'm interested to know more.
you know, we call this tabla in
Yeah.
Egypt. It's the generic word for drum in Arabic, right? It means drum. So, and the Indians took that word for their tabla. So, and there are some similarities, but a lot of differences. The Indians,
What do the Lebanese call it?
darbaki. But the Indian musicians, they take this stuff to a whole nother level. It's amazing. They have, I'm going to teach you about 4 syllables. The Indians use at least 12 syllables. Am I correct with that? With tabla, to represent the sound of the drum. So they write drum poetry. They write it, they speak it, and they play it. So we're gonna learn how to speak our rhythms with a few, just a few. Okay.
I'm Zach. I know understanding the word.
Okay.
I'm nice. I heard about it from Eva actually. And
Yeah.
I'm Catherine. I teach business politics and I like drums.
How do you do it? How do you teach it? That's great. That's incredible. Nice. Yes, sir.
I'm Cameron. I'm from Iran. That instrument in the south of Iran is only played in the south of Iran. It's called timpo. Yeah, and I'm interested.
Timpo, and I know they have the tomba.
Tombak is like more national. That's only for the southern part of Iran.
Don't they call this dumbek in Iran? Dumbek?
Maybe in some cities.
Some cities?
Yeah, but mostly it's called timpo.
Tempo.
Yeah.
I'm Barbara Romain, I teach Arabic here, and I have to say there are at least 3 people in this room who learned the first verse of Ayazin.
Yeah.
They know who they are.
Okay.
So, I started at the school. You were my first teacher.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
10 years ago.
Okay. And we know that. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit. I don't want to talk too much because I want us to get playing. That's the way I love to teach, by doing. But let me give you a little bit anyway, because you're college students and you have your intellect going for you. So this in Egypt we call it tabli or tabla. Say tabla. If you're from North Africa, we call it darbuka. Lebanon, we say darbaki. I always thought in Persia they call it dumbek, so dumbek. And the Greeks say it like a Greek, dumbalek. And here in Villanova we call it drum. All of those names mean this. And this is, we consider this being Egyptian style. From the studies that I've done, I know that this drum has been around for 3 to 4, maybe 5,000 years. There's a legend that says this is older than the chair. This has probably been around longer than there was an Arabic language. So you've got to imagine this thing has had a lot of time and has been played continuously from then until now. So you hear this drum every day and you don't realize it. You hear it on movie soundtracks, commercials, video games. It's everywhere. And you can find it in just about any major music store now. They are carrying them. 10 years ago, you couldn't. Now you see them everywhere. Back in the old days, they made it out of clay with a fish skin. Would be the skin of choice. Very thin skin and very nice sounding. Today, this is cast aluminum. And it has a plastic skin on it. So it's not subjected to wear. There's a lot of sounds that you can make out of this drum, and there's several ways to hold it. Let me just show you. Here's one way. This is probably the easiest way. This is how I learned. I never had a teacher, and I found it very difficult at first to try to play like this because your hands are not in a symmetrical position. This is like, in Latin percussion, you have conga, like this. You have, the approach is symmetrical, right? But it's also an easier way to kind of learn, especially if you're a kid. A lot of times I have them start off like this. And when I say that just because they're stubborn, they put it like this, which is okay with me, So, but if you're going to hold it this way, you got to make sure this doesn't happen if you're not holding it. So you adjust your, I usually sit on the edge. I adjust my lat, or my legs, to create a pocket in here. So even if I wiggle around a little bit, it's not going anywhere. I'm very heavily right-handed, so I put it on the left side. If you're heavily left-handed, you put it on the other side. If you're ambidextrous, you're on your own. You've got to figure that out because you're wired differently. And I've tried to tell people one or the other, and it messes them up. They got to do what's comfortable. One thing I will ask you when you do get a drum is if you're wearing rings. I wear a couple of rings, but you need to take them off so that it doesn't damage the skin, and it can damage your finger too. Okay. I'll just demonstrate some sounds. It's a very dynamic drum. You can play so loud and play nice. Okay? So that's some of the sounds. One thing, this is like the drum, the skin of the drum is, the job of the skin is to vibrate and to move the air, which makes the sound. So as you're playing, a lot of people will start to play, and I usually don't say anything about this until like when I do series, I'll do a series, and the main thing I want people to do is get the rhythms in their head so they're not thinking about them anymore, and then we start to tighten it up. There's many music teachers that actually are detrimental to a student because they look at the micro too quickly in the beginning, and they get you to try to do these drills, and it's not fun. I like to try to get you to play, and then as we're playing, little by little, I sneak in little changes. But so when you're hitting, a lot of people will go. So what you need to remember is that the skin needs to vibrate. And one of the things that we use to help people, if this was a hot stove and you put your hand on it, the first thing you would do is take it off. Then you would curse in Arabic, and then burn. But so what you do, you hit it and get that to go doom, and the same with the top. Okay? So, one last thing before I give you the drums. We use syllables, like in India. When I hit the drum in the middle, we call that doom. Everybody say doom. Doom. If I hit it on the edge like this, tak. Ticka-tack. Ticka. So I gave you 4 syllables. Doom, tack, tick, for our purposes now will be on the left, on your opposite, your weak hand. So doom, doom, ticka-tack, doom, ticka-tack, ticka. So, we're going to teach you how to speak your first Egyptian rhythm. That's probably as old as this drum. It's called beledi. Say beledi. You know what that means in Arabic? What does it mean?
Something from the
country. Yeah. Beled is country, right? Beledi is my country. Right. So the Egyptians are telling us about this rhythm. Extremely popular. This is one of the most commonly played rhythms. Okay? I'm going to teach it to you in 3 parts. Are you ready? Just repeat after me. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. That's part 1. Here's part 2. Doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, tick-a-tack. 1 and 2, we're going to smush them together. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, tick-a-tack. And be sure to say it, because if you can say it, you can play it. You're already starting to make the connections in your head while you're saying it. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack. Now I'll see if you're awake. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack. You got it. The last part is tick-a. 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 Nobody did it. Usually I get someone to go, tick-a. Didn't do it. It's late, Anthony. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack. On the count of Ottawa, let's speak it, clap on the dooms over and over and over again. It's not too much. You'll see. I'll do the first one if it's too much. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Now, tick-a-tack. Don't stop. Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 9 drums. So we have more than 9 people. On the count of 3, rush it and get it. No, let's see. Just come on up, and I'll tell you what. Like some of you, like for you guys, how about you share this one? You guys, Manny and Annie, can share that. Maybe you guys can share this one, and just switch off and on.
You have to give me this. Dying to use
Yes.
screenshot on this.
There you go. Here you go. You guys can share. I wish I had more of these. Like this. There you go. Oh, the pretty one. Now look at this one. This one's an interesting one. It has a tambourine built in. Isn't that neat? And here's a conga. This is Latin percussion. We won't be doing salsa, but you can play the dooms in the middle. That's what your dooms will sound like, and then on here. So here's another one. Here, buddy. There's 3 to that one. Here you go. You get your own. Isn't that special?
You got this, girl.
So we're going to concentrate on the tabla today, but just before we start, these are some other ones that are very important in Arabic and Middle Eastern percussion. This is the daf. Okay, we play like this. These go together. All of these go together like peanut butter and jelly. If you're playing in an ensemble, you would want to have these drums together. This is the R-I-Q. We play it not like this, like rock and roll, no, but I'm out of practice. But then, so these go together with it. Okay, so figure out how you want to hold your drum. Find out which way. You want to put it in the lap, you want to put it in your leg. Oh, you broke it. Okay, good. Now, what I recommend, don't have it like this, because you have to extend your hand if you're going to sit like that. If you want to have it flat, that's fine. Or another way, just like you're doing, if you cross your legs in the front and tuck them in, it can butt up against the bottom of the chair and kind of lock in, so you don't have to strain your thighs the whole time. And then it's kind of locked in, and it's not going anywhere. And if you're doing it like this, just make sure you don't have to hold on to it. If it's falling, you need to just move on the edge, adjust your legs up or down, so it's even if you wiggle, there you go. Good wiggling. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to start by just doing call and response. I'm going to play some patterns, and you repeat the patterns. If I hit it in the middle, you hit it in the middle. If I hit it up here, you hit it in here. If I use two hands, you can use two hands. Here's something you probably don't hear very often. Keep your brain out of it. Do not think. If you think, you will not do it. If you just let it happen, it will happen. Your body knows how to do it. Just react. Keep the thinking out of it. You're thinking. They're definitely going to get pink and red, but don't be shy about that. Okay, so let's learn melody. You already learned how to speak it, so we're going to learn how to play it the same way in 3 parts. So just repeat after me. That's part 1. Here's part 2. There you go. Part 1 and 2 together is like this. Lovely. Pick up. Pick up. Wait for that. I always give the first time I give you a chance to process, because you really need to start after my tick-up. So after my tick-up, you start. Look at that Persian technique. I love it. practice. I'm so sorry there's not enough drums. I don't like to give a workshop when there's not enough drums for everybody, but that's good. You're making use of the time. Okay, on the count of 4. Let's speak it, clap it 4 times, then go right into playing it. 1, 2, ready, and doom doom, tick a tack, doom, tick a tack, 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 tick a tack. Let's play it now. Then you guys will do this. Okay? Let's play. 1, 2, ready, go. Stay on the dunes, please. Drum roll. Yes. Yes.
Can I take the red or would it?
No, please. Oh, I was waiting for you to. Awesome. But if you want to try to play with this one, a lot of times you can play stuff like this. So you can get the practice, or you can hold it however you like. Okay, that's Bennett. Let's learn. Let's continue. Let's learn 3 rhythms in a row. Then I want to show you some drills that I use, and that over the course, say, of a drum series, we learn these drills, and then when we have when we get together, we just play these drills automatically, and then we play our rhythms, and then we learn new stuff. So we always are repeating everything we've learned and keep continuing. So the next rhythm is called Ayub. Say Ayub. Ayub. Now Ayub is a very interesting rhythm. In Arabic, it means Job. It's the name of Job. He's written in the Quran, Torah, and the Bible. You know, that guy that God, they took everything from him and then he still loved God, and what a great story, okay? So this is Job's rhythm. And I think it had to do, well, I don't know why they call it Job's rhythm, but I think it was when in his happy days, because it's a nice happy rhythm. It goes like this. Doom, tack, doom, tack, doom, tack, doom, tack, say it with me. Doom, tack, doom, tack, doom, tack, doom, tack, doom, tack, doom. Yeah, there's always multiple ways to play these rhythms. I always show a certain way to get people started. Then we can always backtrack and learn different hand positioning for rhythms. Over the years, I've found that the way I teach, I always teach melody, Ayub, then we're going to go to Masmudi, and it's each one of these rhythms are a little bit different and build on each other. And once you get these basic, like 6 that I have here, and there's a sheet here that Hiba can copy for you. I didn't have time to go home and bring more, but she can copy it if you want them. They're with the names of the rhythms. The syllables are written out. The notation is above it, music, Western standard notation, and then the rights and lefts. So you can have that. Plus, it's all over the internet. A friend of mine's making an app for me, actually. You can hit the buttons in here, doom, doom, tick-a-tack, and you can play it. But, so Ayub, your dominant hand is is going to hit dooms only. Your other hand is going to hit tacks only. We're going to alternate and I'll play it exaggerating for you, so you see, almost like a toy soldier. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Painfully slow, like this. Play with it. Come on. Jamaica. You hear it everywhere. And when we played it slow, I just wanted to show you that because this is the rhythm that they called Zar in Egypt, which they would use for exorcisms. It would start very, very, very slow, even slower than we started, and then gradually speed up, maybe over the course of hours, perhaps. Huh? In Egypt. I think they outlawed it in Egypt. I don't think it's illegal. I don't think it's legal in Egypt. I heard, it's what I heard from Manar. Manar told me. Yeah. So, that's Ayub. You have Beledi, you have Ayub. Now, let's learn Masmudi. Everybody say Masmudi.
Masmudi.
And it took me a long time to figure out what the name Masmudi means. Even Manar, they couldn't figure it out, and then they figured it out. But before I learned what it was, I always thought it would make a nice name for a little kitten. Hey, Masmudi. Okay. Don't encourage me. Just look blankly, because if you laugh a little, I'll say more. But I found out that Masmudi comes from Morocco, from one of the largest tribes there, the Amazigh tribe. Apparently, Masmudi is referring to them, and this is from their tribe in Morocco. This one is a little longer. Beledi, I call it, the way I count it. I count it as a 4. Doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a, doom, doom, tick-a-tack, doom, tick-a-tack, tick-a. Ayub, I count as a 2. Doom, ta-doom, tack, 1, and 2, and doom, ta-doom, tack, doom. Masmudi, I will count as an 8. Musicians will debate you on this. This is how I do it. So I can only teach you what I do. So, this is how Masmudi goes. Let me play it for you first. And just so you know, the rhythms that I'm teaching you are the bare bones. It's the skeleton of the rhythm. For instance, Beledi. Okay? No drummer will only ever just play that over and over again. And in the Middle East, especially the Arabs, we love to decorate things. We ornament everything. Calligraphy, our buildings, our food, everything is fancy. So the same thing with our rhythms, we want to ornament them. So, for instance, here's regular. But then you figure out the sensibility. You see what I'm saying? Ornamenting. It's you're making it, jazzing it up a little bit, but you don't overdo it. You know, you do it in the context of music. You can overplay. So Masmudi, here's Masmudi. when we hear that. You remember all this stuff? Beautiful. So Masmoudi, let's learn it in 3 parts. We'll speak it first. Here's part number 1. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack,
How
tack.
about doom, doom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doom,
Doom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
or doom, doom, chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
Doom, doom, shitty, shitty, bang, bang.
Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Perfect. Here's part 2. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack.
Doom, ticka, ticka, tack.
Doom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Doom.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Doom, kitty, kitty, cat.
Doom, shitty, shitty, cat.
Ah, came back at you. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack.
Doom, ticka, ticka, tack.
Here's part 1 and 2 together. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, ticka, ticka, tack.
No, I'm pointing up in the air, not just for effect, but these longer rhythms, especially in India, we have longer rhythms. There's a bottom and a top to a rhythm. I'm pointing up just to give you a cue, because we have one more part of this. We're not done yet. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. One more time. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. Beautiful. The last part is ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
Shitty, shitty, bang, bang.
Take a pack of Tic Tacs.
Ticka, ticka, tic, tac.
Ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Ticka, ticka, tack,
You
tack.
gotta have fun with this. You know, you learn better when you're having fun. Here's all 3 parts. Doom, doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack, ticka, ticka, tack, tack.
Doom, ticka, ticka, tack, tack. Doom, ticka, ticka, tack. Ticka, ticka, tack.
Beautiful, that's enough. So, here's how we play. Repeat after me. So call and response, call and response. Just in the beginning, because I think it's easier to absorb this way. Beautiful. Part 2. 1 and 2. You guys are brilliant. The last part. Doesn't that sound beautiful? So here's all 3 parts. Play it on the riff. Everybody play. Right, beautiful. Now you've learned 3 rhythms in record time. That's amazing. So before we learn some of the drills, which are really fun, one of them is from South India, and we play it straight, but the Indian musicians are amazing. If you ever get a chance to see a classical Indian concert, please do. When I first saw one, I didn't know anything really about Indian music, and I was blown away. And then after I had the honor to play with several tabla players, including Zakir Singh, then I knew what was going on. I was even more blown away. Those guys, when they actually play like children on the stage. They try to mess each other up. They like to hide the one, and then you see them laughing, and you'll see them enjoying it. It's amazing. Okay, so one of the, you know, in Arabic music, traditional Arabic music, there's no such thing as harmony. That's happened only since we've been, you know, having communication with the West. There's no harmony in our music because of the quarter tone and the maqams we use. The quarter tone is a note you cannot play on an instrument that has frets or a piano. You can't play it. It's in between a half step, so it's a quarter step. If you wanted to play it on a piano, you would need a red key in between a black key and a white key to get you that step in between. And to the Western ear, sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes the Western ear will think it's out of tune, but it is not. It's just more. You have more notes at your disposal to express emotion. And it's amazing because, and I always go back to India because the further east you go, it seems like it's even more advanced. Where Western society might say no, it's more primitive. Way more advanced than Western music. And I'll say that, the case in point is, when you go to India, they have rags that are only supposed to be played in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. Because they've hoped for all these thousands of years they've been playing, they realized which of these scales, ascending and descending, will create a mood and an emotion in a human being. And even at the time of day, it's absurd. It's that complicated. It's almost like magic. So, there's no harmony, but today, of course, there is. We put harmony in. And the reason there's no harmony is because we have so many notes and our melodies are so complex, you don't need it. So our melodies, you would say, are horizontal instead of vertical. Like your harmonies with stack harmonies, ours are vertical, horizontal. And the other thing that makes our music complicated and complex and interesting to hear are the rhythms, hundreds and hundreds of rhythms. So you need to be able to go from one rhythm to the other, like this. For instance. That's not even changing time signature. We're still in even time. We play at every odd. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. There's a 7 in Dar Hindi in Arabic. Dar Hindi telling us it's coming from India. We have another rhythm. That's actually an even rhythm. It's in 10. But in Arabic we call it Georgina. Coming from Georgia, not South, not y'all, but Georgia from Russia. That's where it comes from. This rhythm, I've only ever heard the Armenians, the Turks, sometimes, and the Iraqis play this rhythm, and they call it Georgina, which means that's where it comes from. So you got. So anyway, the thing is to be able to switch from rhythm to rhythm on a dime. So let's practice that. So we know melody, doom, doom, tick-a-tack, tick. We know Tayoun. Now you know Masmoudi, and I'm going fast. Usually we would have more time to play, and these rhythms would be in your head. I might yell out Masmoudi, and you might confuse it with another one at this point, but it's okay, you'll get it. So what we'll do is we'll play 4 melodies, 8 Tayouns, 4 Masmoudis, 3 more melodies, drum roll, a little mini drum solo. Oh, like, oh my gosh, that's complicated. No, it's not complicated. I'm going to play it for you once just to hear it. And then when we play, then we're going to practice the transition real quick. Then when we do it together, I will cue you. I will count each measure and I will yell out and make it obvious. Okay? But this is what we're going to do. A little mini drum solo with 3 rhythms. 2, 4. And I switch play you. 2 IUs. Here's what it sounds like. Heard it? Heard me? I work in the hood a lot. Heard me? Okay, ready? Watch. Practice that transition with me. One melody into 2 IUs and stop. 1, 2, ready, and. One more time. Ready, and listen what you want to try to have. And I know this is, we're moving fast. You barely have these rhythms in your head. But listen to the neat space. I'm not making the space, it's just the natural space when you switch. Listen. Okay, let's try it. 1, 2, 1 melody. Beautiful. Now we'll play 2 IUs and go into our first Masudi. You ready? Listen how it sounds. Heard it? Here we go. 2 IUs, 1 Masudi. Ready, and. Good. That's enough because we're going to play this a couple times when we do it for real. Then, 1 Masudi into 1 melody. 1, 2, ready, go. Time. 1 Masudi into 1 melody. And the thing is, you're laughing because maybe you're messing up. You haven't had enough time playing these rhythms so that they're stuck in your head. You might, when you're trying to sleep tonight, you might be hearing, it's going to keep you up. You're going to be, damn, drum workshop. Oh my God. Okay. 1 Masudi into 1 melody. Here we go. 4 melodies, 8 IUs, 4 Masudis, 3 more melodies, drum roll, out. Have you gotten a chance to play yet back there?
Yeah.
Woohoo! Okay. Come up closer so I can see your hands, and if you're messing up, I can make fun of you. And that's another thing, you know, when we're playing in a thing like this, adults are usually the worst people to teach anything to because they have hang-ups. And especially this kind of a thing, you guys are students, so you're still a little brave, but a lot of times I teach adult classes, and they are so self-conscious, and they get this performance anxiety. They can be playing perfectly, but then when it comes for their turn, they blow it. And so I try to make fun of that, not in a mean way, but I try to get people to laugh at themselves so that they feel free to take a risk. You have to sound bad before you sound good, and you have to have a chance to sound bad and make mistakes. So please do. And don't be so timid. If you want to make a mistake, make a big mistake. Really. Let it ring out. Okay. So 4 melodies, 8 ayus, 4 masmudas, 3 more melodies, drum roll, out. And I will cue you every step of the way. Melody. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, let's do it again. Okay? And that's how you can, and the more rhythms you learn, the more you can throw in your little drum solo, and then you have an arrangement. It's as simple as that. 4 melodies, 8 ayus, 4 masmuris, 3 more melodies, drum roll, out. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and. Anybody's hands getting hot or warm?
Yep.
Are they cold or clammy? Sometimes they're the opposite, the way your circulation goes. They might be itchy, sometimes from banging on them. Pink, definitely they'll be pink. Look at those pink hands. Good. Good. Okay. So let's learn. We did call and response. Actually, let's go back to call and response. Just do a little bit, loosen up. And I want to show you this thing, this pattern, using 16th notes. It's really cool. And then there's another thing, and I'll show you as we go. So. So now here's this thing. We're going to go from 8s to 4s to 2s to 1s to halves. Using 16th notes. It's call and response. So just repeat after me. When we get to the 1s and to the halves, I'll stop and show you how they're done because it's not as straightforward. Just repeat after me. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, don't be timid now. I want you to hit it. Let your hands tingle a little bit. And that was pretty good. But that's not want to hear it. 5, 6, 7, 8. my last one. So if this is me and this is you, this is what it's like. Watch. Got it? Let's try that. Doom, boom. That's it, from the beginning. From the twos. I'm doing this, that's where you hit. Look, when I give you my left hook, that's where you're supposed to punch, or you're supposed to hit. From the twos. Very good. Nice. Want to do it again? That's so fast. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just react. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nice. Perfect, except for the ending. Perfect though. Boom, boom. That's hard to do. So that's a drill that we will do usually after call and response. Then I like to do these. I call it 4, 5s, and 6s. Has nothing to do with rhythmical time. This is another call and answer thing. And I'm just going to do patterns of 4, slow, medium, and fast. Then 5s, slow, medium, fast, and 6s. And the reason I introduce these is because eventually, after you get good at doing these little riffs, you can throw them into the rhythms to help you ornament or to help you improvise. So, just repeat after me again. Meeting! Thanks for coming out. I hope you had fun. Good. Okay, so 4, 5s, and 6s. Just repeat after me. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, 5s. You notice something when you do an even number, here's the 4, you start with your dominant and end with your other hand. An odd, like a 5, you start and end with the same dominant hand, and even. So that helps you, not so much when we're playing slow, but when you play fast, so you know what to end up with. So 5s. And then after we do these drills, after I teach you this drill, we'll move on to the other rhythms. that we have that are on the sheet. This one, I like to call it, and just so you know, I don't change my style when I teach. Whether I'm teaching third graders or fourth graders, which I do, or teaching college kids like you, or adults. I don't change it. I talk the same way. I say the same corny jokes. And it does not change, just so you know. So this drill I call whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note thingy. That's what I call it. And basically we just go through the notes. And we'll do it like this. Just do it with me. You'll figure it out after the first pass. And then we usually do this slow, then medium, and then fast. And when we do medium and fast, it gets really hard to do the 16 notes at the end. But it's a good challenge. So here we go. We all know whole notes get 4 beats. Half get 2. Quarters each get a beat. Eighth note gets a half a beat or 2 to a beat. And 16th notes, you've got to squeeze 4 16th notes. I call them potatoes, because it's like potatoes. That's 16 notes. You got to play 4 notes for each beat. 1, 2, 3, right? So here we go. Whole notes, we're going to go like this. 1, 2, ready, and 2, 3, 4. This one we play together. 2, 3, 4. Half notes like this. 1, 2, then 2. Just for the drill purpose, we'll play them. There's other ways you could play them, but we'll play them like this. 1, 2. Quarter notes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Then eighth. Just so you know, how many musicians are here? Okay, so just so you know, when we do the 8th and the 16th notes, I always keep the first note as a quarter, and then the other. Or the first beat a quarter, and then the other 3 beats, we'll do the 8th or the 16th, because it makes the drill interesting. So 8th notes will be 2, 3, 4. And 16th will be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it the same speed, then we'll speed it up later. 2, 3, 4. 2, and then half notes. 1, 2, 2, quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit faster. Gonna be kind of difficult when we get to the end. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Never gonna get it. Gonna be too fast. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Quarter notes. Shake your hands out. They should hurt now. That's a good one. Woo! Yeah. Okay. So those drills I always play to warm up, and then we play our rhythms. Trying to. Do you want to go on to some more rhythms, or would you like to do an improvisation drill?
Improv.
How many people raise your hand for an improvisation drill? It's a lot of fun. How many people new rhythms? Okay, well, we're going to learn new rhythms anyway. So let's do the improvisation drill. We do the improvisation drill within the rhythm of Tayoun. I call this drill punching the ones. And musicians will say, you know, I'm going to take a solo, or they'll say, like maybe a guitarist will take a solo, and they're like, oh, punch the ones for me. So like everybody breaks, and there's a little space. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Then back in like. Punch the one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Then quarters. 1, 2, 3. Back in and. Okay. So during that space is where we're going to each allow you to improvise. I'll take the first solo. Actually, we'll start it up. We'll just break and leave the spaces just so we know we're stopping at the right time. Then I'll take the first solo. Then after that, we're going to go around. Let me give you a hint. For those of you that aren't musicians, or that this is kind of new to you. When you improvise, and do me a favor, because for some of you this might be the first time you've ever done anything like this. Go for it. Like I said, if you're going to make a mistake, make a big mistake. There's no way that you can learn how to do this by anybody telling you or reading. You can only learn how to do it by doing it. If nothing's coming to you, if your mind is blank and you don't know what to do in that space, I'll give you here's a couple things you could do. You could just keep playing the rhythm. While we punch the ones. You could do quarter notes. You could just do that. You could try to vary that up, maybe syncopate a little. And while we're punching the one. You could do 16th notes the whole time. You could try to roll the whole time. That's always fun. Or you could do a combination thereof of any of that. When I improvise, I usually have a whole shelf of different things that I can choose from. If I'm not feeling it and I'm not really actually improvising, like I'm pulling riffs that I know that will work. As a professional, your job is to sound good. You can't go and sound bad. So even if I'm really faking my improvisation, like I'm actually playing something that I know I'm going to play, which is not improvising. Improvising is taking a risk. Playing at the peak of your level and trying to outdo yourself. So for us now, just get familiar with the space. Play around with it. If you mess up, you mess up. But don't be timid. Try to let it go. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Here we go. The first one, the first break we leave blank. I'll count it out so we know we're doing it. The second one, I'll take the first solo. Then we're going to go around. Everybody with a drum, you're going to take a solo. I'm going to point to you and you'll go. Okay? Here you go. Doom, da-doom, tack, doom. Don't be scared. Doom, da-doom, tack, doom, da-doom, tack. 1, 2, ready, hit. good. All of you guys did amazing for like, you know, that was great. How do you guys feel?
Good.
What? How much time do we have?
I think there's another event in here, but I don't know what time.
It
So-
says 5:30
right now.
It says
So
5:30.
maybe, what, another 5 minutes, and then we wrap up?
Another 5 minutes? Okay.
Do you want to, can we at least say 2 to 3 of those for a very nice finale from you? Just like pull it all out.
How do I top this? Okay. Sure, of course. Any questions? Let's take questions.
How do you get that nice snap on your offhand?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a technique that you can see my friend, what's your name again? Come Run. He has also played it. I think it might be indigenous to Persia. I see Turks using it a lot. It's used on frame drums a lot.
Can you explain what it is you're talking about? What
Okay,
is it?
he's looking at this. Which is like a snap.
Yeah.
Now, you can snap from the resting position. You can get a power snap by kind of like resting this finger on the thing and it cuts through. So that's just something that you have to practice. The way you do it is you have the drum in your lap. The way I try to explain to people is without thinking, again, keep the mind out of it for a minute. Just place your hand on the drum as if this is an armrest on a chair. Like, don't even think, just where you're relaxed. And you're usually, the left hand, you're usually in the right area if you do it that way. You usually just have to make a few minor adjustments. Then, what happens is, for this drum, this finger, not the bad one, this one, it's like your weakest finger on your weak hand, right? That's one of the main fingers for our music. So you use that. Once you're getting that, you find that nice crispy sound right here. Then all you have to do is make a leap and snap. Some people, not many, but some people get it right away, and others like me, and I was trying to learn it. So it's just you gotta have a drum like this, and that's what you do at home. You know, like you sit there. And what I recommend is if you're ever practicing a technique like that, and you're starting to get frustrated, my recommendation to people is to put the instrument down and walk away. Go do something. Eat a salad, watch a show, and then when you come back and you try it, usually you can get it on the first thing because you've cleared. You start to fight yourself after a while. When you start fighting yourself, you're not being productive. There are people that are stubborn and they'll force themselves to do it. You know, it's all on your personality. But that's. And there's so many other techniques. Like this guy is amazing. His fingers are amazing. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are there, there are some unequal rhythms in Persian. Are there the same thing in our rhythms?
Yes, yes. For instance, here's Dar Hindi. It's a 7/8. Doom ticka tack, doom ticka tack ticka. It's actually just like melody minus one doom. 7. We have 9s. The Turks will call it kashlama. 8. So yes, there's many. Any other questions, sir?
So where would you buy one of these? How much does it cost? And what do you recommend for a beginner's drum?
Good question. You can find drums like this. These, the Alexandria kind, these, like this. Most of you have them. The one that you're using is a Meinl. That's a German company. That one's really light. I had bought that when I was going to be traveling, and I wanted something really light because I was going all over. I traditionally like a little heavier drum. Vinyl does make them a little heavier. You can find those in Sam Ash or Guitar Centers.
Okay.
But for these, you kind of have to get them online. Unless you go to, say, I used to go to Brooklyn twice a year on Atlantic Avenue. And there's all these Middle Eastern grocery stores all up and down Atlantic Avenue, restaurants. And I used to go in there, and they, up on like top of these shelves, they'd have these drums, and I'd take them down and play them, because I always wanted to play on the instruments that I have before I learned. But if you go to a website, there's a website called www.newlime, N-U-L-I-M-E, newlime.com. You go in there, you click on instruments, or you click on percussion instruments, and you type in Alexandria Darbuka. They're from Alexandria, Egypt.
Okay.
Alexandria Darbuka, they'll come up. And then you can take your pick. And they're anywhere in between 100 to 150 bucks. You can get a good one.
I suppose you recommend these for like kind of beginner drummer.
Forget beginner. I recommend getting a good instrument, getting it once, and then be done with it. Don't get something cheap. Get a good instrument. They're not that expensive. It'll last you your whole life. Unless you throw it out the second floor window and crack it. But
Do you replace the drum heads?
yes, it comes with an extra plastic head. You can get fiber skins, which have a texture. I don't have any fiber skin ones here, but I like that. I have a couple. That's a real skin. I'm not sure. They may have real skins that are prefab, because this rim comes off. And you just pop it on, and you put the lugs in, and then you're done.
You have to turn it around.
Well, you tighten that up to where it's flush.
Okay.
Now, there's not really much tuning you can do. Most of them are in B flat-ish. Some of these ones have been beaten around so much they're loose and they're not. That one, I don't even know. This one's actually bigger. This one, they call it the Hola. It's a little bit bigger than those. And I've just been playing this. I don't know, I've just been, I go through phases where I'm playing different ones of my instrument. The other one second, who's got this one? This is one that you would want to get, okay? This size, Alexandria. I modified it. I drilled the holes in so you can wear it. But this is what most people play, this size. And you can probably, like I said, you can get this for about 140 bucks maybe.
Okay.
All right, Joe, can you give us one finale? Give
Yes.
us your best. Am I allowed to film this?
Of course. Yes?
There's a guy, or there used to be a guy in Wisconsin from rock, and he was this thing called the Village Bazaar. If you want the really traditional kind of instruments, he's got them. And they're beautiful. The one thing is that they aren't so easy to head your skin, and they are sensitive to the weather.
And they're made by a very incredible artisan, and they're going to be a lot more expensive. And you want to be, I would recommend these because you can take these to a frat party and play. And it's not going to, you can spill beer on it, it's not going to mess it up. It can get wet, you know, so.
All right.
Okay, so, I don't know what to do.